Hey guys, Liana here. It's Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. And of course, I just do that singing to annoy people. This is probably going to be a short one because this was a fairly chill week for me. And I know that's not the case for a lot of people that watch these videos. And I'm, not trying to undermine or negate that experience at all. For me, it was a very positive, sort of low key week in that people responded very well for the most part to the stuff I put out. And I'm still at the point where that's sort of like, what happened? What's wrong? Why did I piss someone off? But on the other hand, it's very encouraging, right? Because once again, it's another week of defying stereotypes collectively, right? So it's again a moment where I have to sort of, be grateful and show thanks to the gamers that watch this channel and who accept, feminist criticisms of games from the perspective of someone who is a gamer and see that and go, yeah, this is cool. And, I disagree with nothing and that's awesome. But I needed more content for this video. So what I did was I went on Twitter and I asked people, what is your favorite video game character and why? Simple question, but if gamers were the misogynistic shitlords that certain media outlets claim us to be, that would be a question that would be, the results would be the, big boobed bimbos that I've been defending. And the results were quite interesting. The results were first of all, very diverse. The boss from Metal Gear Solid 3 was a big one, I think, because, the Phantom Pain is out right now. But I got some exceptionally interesting answers, and they were so diverse. And there was so little pattern in the whole thing that I'm like, wow, people are actually accepting female video game characters as characters. They're not female characters, they're just characters, and people like and dislike them for various reasons. The most interesting feedback I got was people who we like characters like Rosalina from the Mario Kart series. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I don't, obsess over the pronunciation of Mario characters. But they were like, she's strong without having to be, chick with a giant gun. And I find that very interesting because that's a very subtle, and I'm talking about characters like this, not just this character. But if gamers were the misogynistic shitlords that people claim we are, you wouldn't get that sort of nuance of approach. That the fact that I asked the reason, why you like these characters was as important as the characters people chose, if not more important. I think for me it was more important, more interesting, at least, why people chose the characters they did, because the answers were eye-opening. And like I said, they were all over the map, and there's really no trends. And that reminded me again how, wrong the mainstream narrative is about gamers. And I think that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. It's, people want someone easy to blame for society's ills, and video games are this thing that's little understood. And I mean, it doesn't have the history in the mainstream that, rock and roll or hip-hop music has. So it's the latest easy scapegoat for society's ills. But games don't create society's ills. Games reflect society's ills. And that's important to remember. And every time, week after week after week, I do videos and I dialogue with people and I ask questions, I'm reminded of how thoroughly the mainstream has gotten gaming wrong. And so I feel this profound sense of responsibility. What do I do about this? And that's the question I'm sort of asking myself. And, I'm working with some very smart people to formulate sort of game plans based on this. But what I want to communicate to people is, the experiment is working. You guys are doing what you need to do to change the perception and to change the dialogue between and surrounding gamers in the mainstream, just simply by being you and responding and being honest and going, yeah, right on, Liana. And I mean, I don't quite know what to say about that because the data is still coming in, and I don't like jumping the gun. I don't like saying, oh, well, here's 50 responses while more and more and more are pouring in. But the sense I get is people who just want good characters. They don't care if they're male or female. And by that, I mean they really don't care if they're male or female. Not, male character by default, female characters are okay too. They really don't care as long as they're good characters. And, I got responses from quite a few gamers who their favorite video game characters are. And like I said, there was no rhyme or reason to it. And that tells me that gamers are engaging with female characters as people. That's amazing. Like, that's an amazing building block that we can start there. And what does this mean? Well, that means that we don't have to worry about what women want or what gamers want in female characters. It means the tastes are diverse enough that we can just treat female characters as characters. Make sure they're there, right? Not be afraid of including female characters because gamers can handle it. And we're going to continue testing this. We're going to continue, experimenting and gathering qualitative data because there's a lot of people out there gathering quantitative data. I don't have the resources to gather quantitative data yet. But qualitative data I can do because I've got enough Twitter followers and enough YouTube subscribers. Please subscribe. It helps a lot, please. But there's enough people engaging in this dialogue, engaging in this experiment that we're going on right now to get some meaningful results. We're over the margin of error, right? The minute you hit 3,000 people, you're over the margin of error. The minute you hit 1,000 people, you're over the margin of error. So, by that I mean like 3% plus or minus. And that's amazing. The fact that people are, prepared to listen to the stuff and engage and, the media narrative is wrong. The bias is wrong. The shorthand is wrong. And this is the beginning of the change in that, of showing the world that their assumptions about gamers are wrong. And that's amazing. I'm so humbled and grateful to be a part of that. And so, again, I know this is sort of becoming a broken record at this point, but I don't think we can say it enough because, I listen to interview after interview after interview, and I'm pausing here because I want to say this accurately and not just, have a populist message. But I listen again and again and again to people with degrees from Harvard and Columbia and Stanford and all these degrees. Sort of, it sounds very mealy-mouthed to me, but that's populist. I think that, they're communicating in their way, but it's not a way that engages regular people who, don't have parents or scholarships that can send them to Columbia or Harvard or whatever. That's not the real world. That is the privileged world. And to me, the minute someone sort of is part of that pedigree, I'm not saying at all that people from those walks of life are bad people. Not at all. I'm saying that things change. And you hit that level. And I know that because I've sort of rubbed elbows with some people in that world. And then I go back and I get on Twitter and I talk to people. I talk to the vast majority of people who consume games, and that is not their reality. And I think that the games press and games critics, yada, 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 have to talk to people on the level that they're at. And that, some people say, oh, you're dumbing down. No. It's aligning the reality of your analysis with the reality of other people's experience, because sameness gets you much further. I said sameness, not sameness. What makes us similar gets us much further than focusing on what makes us different. And I think that's awesome. And maybe I'm sort of giddy because, it's very rare I get a week where people aren't shitting all over me for something. But I don't think that's just it. I think that things are changing, and I feel it changing. I feel it in my gut. I know what things were like a year ago. I know how people felt. I know how without hope people were. And I see things changing now. I see the beginning of something amazing. And I want to be part of that something. And that's sort of what we're building towards. And I'm sorry I don't have anything more sort of concrete for people today. But some weeks, it's just time to say thank you and be grateful and say good things are happening. And that's what I'm doing this week. It's awesome. You guys are awesome. I'm so glad that I can say that while I have a, sort of mid-sized YouTube channel, I have an incredible quality of viewer. My engagement is awesome. The quality of comments is awesome now. It's really improved from even a month ago, 2 months ago. It's gotten so much better. People are respectful, and I see the change. I see the comments. There's very few people shit posting for the sake of shit posting or trolling or anything like that. And that's fantastic. I mean, that's beyond fantastic. That's something that people claimed couldn't be done regarding internet dialogue involving a woman who is a feminist. I mean, this is a contentious statement, but we are together disproving the claims of a war on women in gaming. And that's awesome. Because no one wants a war on women in gaming. People want everything to be equal, and people want things to be good. And I think people are genuinely upset when they hear about the idea that women are not welcome in gaming. Among, the corridors of money, I think there's still work to be done. Among the rank and file of gamers, of just consumers of games, I think the reality is that everybody's got to earn it. Everybody gets it rough at first. And if, you take your lumps long enough, you earn respect, and people don't care whether you're male or female. People care about whether you seem authentic and seem like you actually care about games, that you actually understand games, that you actually love games. And once you've sort of established your cred as somebody who understands and loves games, people are far more willing to listen to you than if you're just like, well, I have a master's degree, consider me an expert. No one gives a shit whether you have a master's degree in gaming. What people care about is whether what you say makes sense to them. And this is extra significant for me right now because I just watched a 90-minute political debate. And if I sound a little bit wonky, that's why. I just spent 90 minutes listening to bullshit, and I put on Twitter that, just spent 90 minutes listening to political debate. It was actually longer than that. The actual debate was 90 minutes. The pre- and post-game show was much longer. But it made me really appreciate the authenticity of gamers that much more. So I'm going to wrap there. Thank you for listening. Big week coming up. We've got the full interview with Meredith Placco. Please listen to the preview in advance so you see what's coming, but that's coming up Wednesday. A slightly reconceived Mountain Monday. Yes, we're still doing the Zen. Yes, we're still doing the, breathe in, breathe out. But I've sort of figured out, I hope, a way to make it more relevant to the rest of the channel. And of course, Tata's Tuesday returns. Don't have a video for Thursday yet. I'll figure that out. But big things coming ahead, guys. Thank you for being a part of it.